Hello, 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 and welcome back. Svenja here. Today we're going to talk about how to achieve beautiful fall colors if you don't have them. So grab your coffee and let's get started. Cheers! This image was actually shot in the fall. However, the foliage still hadn't turned into lovely fall colors yet, so we're gonna make them look fallish in Photoshop. The first thing that we're gonna do is we're going to come into the hue saturation layer, and we're gonna take the hand tool and we're gonna pick a color that is from here. I'm gonna click in here, it brings up the yellows. I want these slightly greenish looking yellows to be more yellowy and orange. Therefore, I'm going to turn the hue saturation layer down. Somewhere here is good. And I'm going to also bring up the saturation because I want them to be more intense. And I'm thinking right here is pretty good. Then I'm going to put this layer into a group, Command G. And I'm going to grab this layer mask here. Watch what's happening to the picture as I let go. It masks out the kids and the grass because this group, I'm going to double click it. I'm going to label it Foliage. That way, everything that I'm going to do here is just going to be applied to the leaves of the trees and not on the grass or on the kids, because they look crazy as I was pushing the yellows. Next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to label this hue saturation layer HSY because I was only working on the yellows. And then we're going to open up a new hue saturation layer. Clicking this mask again, I'm going to click right here. This looks really green. And we also want to affect the greens. We're going to go into the hue into the hue part of the hue saturation layer. We're going to bring it left, which makes them look, watch down here to see what color we're turning it. We're going to make them look more orangey. It was maybe too much. Here, that's pretty good. And we are also going to up the saturation here. Right about here. So you're going to see it starts to look a bit more crazy, but we're getting nice yellows over here. And next we're going to work on the color balance layers. And we're going to stay in the midtones. And I'm going to push some red into these leaves here. Maybe like that. And I'm going to keep it on this layer. I'm going to label it, oops, I forgot to label the other one. CB for color balance, M for midtones, R for red. And this one here I also need to label, otherwise I will forget, HSG for greens. All right, next we're going to add a new new color balance layer. I'm going to move this over here. And we're going to play again with the midtones, with the yellows. We're going to push yellow into this. Here. See how the colors are coming along really nicely now? I need to label it CB for color balance, M for midtones, Y for yellow. Now let's see what this did before and after. It's already looking a lot more like fall, but if you look at it, the grass, it looks like there's a very clear cutoff line, and now we need to do something about the grass. So this time I'm going to go into the selective color, and this might be set to something else, I don't know. For me, it's on the greens already, which is perfect because I want to affect the greens here. And I'm just going to start with the top slider. I'm going to play around a bit, see what we're doing here, and I'm going to drag it down because I want less cyan. You can see the percentage of the cyan drops. I think right about here is fine. Then we're going to move on to the magenta. And I do want some magenta in this, so I'm going to push it towards the positive percentages right about here. Looks pretty good to me. And then yellows. I'm going to also drag this towards the right because I want this to look more yellow, more warm. So what I've done here now is I've added some warmth, like the minus in the cyan means opposite, so red. So we added red, we added magenta because it's plus, and we also added yellow. So we added a bit of an orangey tinge. So selective color, I'm going to label this SH for selective color, and then G for green. And I'm going to group this, Command G, and I will take this off of the foliage. So I press the Option key, click in my layer mask, let go, and now I'm going to click Command I to invert this layer mask here. And I'm going to label this grass. Now this only affects our grass. Watch. This looked cool before, now it already looks a bit warmer, matching the background a bit better, but we're not done yet. I am going to click into my grass layer, and I'm going to add a curves layer, a curves adjustment layer. And then I'm going to click into the reds, and I'm going to take my little tool here, and I'm going to start to drag it up because I want there to be more reds here. Just gonna have to play around with this a little bit. You know what, I'm just gonna come in here. I think that's probably a bit better. There. Let's see. I added a little bit of reds here. And now I'm gonna go into the blue. Again, I'm just gonna grab on this line here. And then you're just gonna look, and we don't want to drag up because that makes it cool. We want to drag it down a bit more, about here. Looks pretty good to me. Now let's see what this did. See, it added a bit more warmth to this as well. So I'm just gonna label this C for curves and then warmth. Whenever I affect the orangey color like yellow and red, I'm gonna just label it warmth. Next, what we're having to do is, I notice this strip right here of grass that looks a little too cool for my liking, so we're gonna have to do something about that. I'm going to use a color balance layer, and I'm going to start in the midtones right here and gonna just add some red towards it. And then some magenta, not much, just a little touch. And some yellow. Now I know everything looks crazy, but I'm just really caring for this little strip right here. And I'm gonna mask that off of the rest in a second. And I'm also gonna go into the highlights because this here seems a bit lighter to me than the rest. So again, I'm gonna add a little bit of red. Maybe like so. This time I'm not gonna add any magenta, but I will add a little bit of yellow, like so. Okay, labeling this CB. MH, because that's what I affected, and then warmth. And then I'm going to press Command I to completely take it off, and I'm going to go in with a brush. It's at 50% opacity right now. You can see it right here. And I'm going to make it pretty big, and I'm just going to start to apply it like here. Maybe that was even too much. I'm going to start with a lower brush, 30% opacity. I'm going to just start to paint it on over here, maybe 10% to make it a bit more like so. That way I can build it up without making it too intense on the other side here. But look what it did to the kids' faces. That obviously can't happen. So I'm gonna, this on top is a layer mask for the kids. So I'm gonna press Command and click into my layer mask. Now they're highlighted. I'm gonna press B for brush, X to make my brush black, 0 because I want 100% opacity brush. And I'm just gonna make my brush pretty big, and I'm gonna mask off where the kids are. There. Now I got them. However, I also need to pay attention to the hair here, so I'm gonna press 2 on the brush for 20% opacity, X to make the brush white, left bracket key because I need to make my brush size smaller, and then I'm gonna go into Vienna's hair right here and to just paint it on there, maybe one more time and doing the same thing on his highlights right here and for Finn and here, because the hair is going to be a bit see-through. So there. Command D to deselect, and that is the mask. We're gonna check out what we did so far. I'm gonna press the Option key and click on the background layer. This is the before, this is the after. So it's looking pretty good already, but we're not quite done yet. I'm also going to add an overall hue saturation, no, curves layer. Today I want to mix them up, and I'm going to go into the reds, and I'm going to take my hand tool and I'm going to click right on Vienna's forehead right here, and I'm just going to drag it up a little bit. And I'm not sure if that did anything, so I'm going to go right in here and I am going to just bring it up like so. And then I'm going to go click into the blues, again into her forehead, and I'm just going to drag down because I want to have the, I don't want the, I'm going to actually move it over a little bit to see what that does. Yep, let's go. I like this. I like what this looks like. This is to give some overall warmth to the image. And then I'm going to look, I'm looking at it and I see, I feel like it's a little too yellow for my liking in the grass area over here. So I'm going into the hue saturation adjustment layer, and I'm going to go into my yellows, and I'm just going to take the lightning area and I'm going to just darken it. That also takes away some of the saturation. I'm going to leave that at 24, I think. Then I'm going to go into the master overall layer, and I'm going to darken that as well. Like so, but I don't really want to have that on the kids, so I'm gonna press the Option key, take the layer with the kid, take the layer mask off the kids, drag it over the hue saturation layer, and I should have labeled this. This one here was Sea Warmth, and this here was HS Yellows. We darkened it, so yellow's dark. But now we have the effect only on the kids, which is exactly what we don't want. So Command I to invert the layer mask. And now I have to do some masking over here because this looks a bit strange. So I'm gonna press 5 on my keyboard for a 50% opacity brush. And I do want the brush to be white because I need to get some of the effect right here onto them. There, this looks better. The let's see, this was before, this is after. This sharp edge has been taken care of. I also don't want to have this effect on the sunlight here, so I'm gonna make the brush bigger. Oops, that was the wrong brush, didn't want to do that. We want a black brush now, and I'm gonna just paint the light back on because here I want my yellow leaves to be yellow. There, no, that was bringing it on the kids. I don't want that up. I don't want that, but I do want it here. So there. All right, now let's see what that did overall. Before and after. Before and after. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this tutorial helpful, and if you did, please like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications. If you have any questions for me, what you would like me to cover in the future, please drop a comment below, and I look forward to hearing from you. I will see you again in the next tutorial, and I hope you have a great time until then. Take care, my friend. Cheers! I don't know if you say cheers for coffee, but I kind of like it. Start a new trend?